Skyler,
Yurt.
defensive line, linebackers.
Come on.
Where do you want to start with this? Because there's a lot to talk about, and we also got to talk about the reason why we're grouping these together. So, where do you want to begin with this?
I want to start defensive line because I feel like they're getting
do it.
overlooked. I feel like
Let's
they're
do it.
getting overlooked, and that's okay. I do think, incredibly, even with the turmoil and the turnaround, I don't know what you want to call it, the overturn, I guess, at the defensive backs room. I feel like the defensive line is just getting, I don't want to say disrespected, but man, there is a lot. I would say it's the second most questioned position on the team behind quarterback, in my opinion.
I would agree with
I
you.
want to shine the light on the defensive line a little bit and just kind of let people know that, like, hey, guys, barring injury, like, this is still a solid group of kids that are going to be rushing the passer. I think, seriously, we're going to be okay. And especially with what we've kind of already kind of teased, that, like, with the help that they're going to get from other position groups as well. I want to start at defensive line. So, with that being said, you want to start interior, exterior? How do you want to do this?
Let's go interior because I feel like that's going to kind of be the strength of this defensive line group this
Perfect.
year, barring injury, of course. I mean, obviously, number one person that we're going to mention is David Hobbs.
Absolutely.
A guy that could have very easily been one of the ones to represent Tennessee at SEC Media Days. He obviously got injured before the spring game. He was sidelined the rest of spring practice here, and I don't know what his health status looks like right now as we inch closer to the season. But I mean, that's a leader on the interior right there, the defensive line that you really need this year. And he's dealt with injuries his entire career, and he's one that I'm really looking forward to this season if he stays healthy.
That's right. I mean, Hobbs, guys, we quickly forget. I mean, he's been here since 2023. He's played in a lot of games. He was actually a former 5-star prospect, number 4 defensive lineman in the country, about on 3. But he was rated as a 4-star on 24/7 Sports. He is actually the leading returning tackler on the defensive line. So the 6'4", 290-pound senior. You got to expect big things from him. And in a tenure at Tennessee where I don't think he did play he did play one season, I believe, in 2024 maybe, and all 13 games. Yeah. But really, other than that season, he's always kind of been battling something nagging here or there. So I really would like for him in a senior season to lock in, stay healthy. Obviously, that's not something you can necessarily control all the time, but taking care of your body and whatnot, being there, being a leader of this defensive line, I think that's exactly what you're going to get out of David Hobbs.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. And then 2 other guys that I'm looking forward to there. One of them's on the older side of things now, and he really stepped up last year because of a injury to David Hobbs. Nathan Robinson.
Robinson, come on.
Yeah, looking forward to him. Dude is 6'7", 295. I mean, he's got the height, he's got the size, man, and he's a load there in the middle, and he showed why he was on the field last year. He really stepped up. Was that the Mississippi State game that he really stepped in, or was that Arkansas? It was one of those middle games of the season where he just had himself a breakout game.
I'm trying to see if it is in my notes, and I'm not seeing it, but either way, I'm not seeing it in my notes. Unbelievable. I'm so bad at this, but it does say that I've got here that he played in all 13 games last year, finishing the season with 14 tackles, 4 solo, 2.5 for loss. He had 1.5 sacks. He actually forced a fumble and a pass breakup. He did have a career-high 3 tackles against Syracuse to start the year last year and a strip sack that turned into a scoop and score by Colton Hood. So, I mean, he really started the year with a bang, in my opinion, and then kind of asserted himself the rest of the way as just being a consistent guy that you needed on the interior defensive line. I'm proud of him because he really didn't see, I feel like, a ton of action before that. So the fact that he was able to step in, be that guy in the middle, and honestly taking advantage of the opportunity, right? Right. And stepping in that role, being that next man up mentality, he really took off, went roll it. He's got to be that guy. This year, he's got to be, in my opinion, a 2 to 3 down lineman. He's got to be there every single play, and be that leader in the defensive line. We're gonna need him and David Hobbs both. But obviously, it's impossible to have those guys go every single play, and that's why I think you're gonna have to rely on other guys like Ethan Utley.
Yep, that was going to be my next name, was Ethan Utley. Young guy with a lot of talent.
Absolutely. True sophomore, I believe, 6'4", 285. Right here out of Nashville, Tennessee. Now, he's a guy that I believe he played a lot as a true freshman last year.
He did. Yeah.
It shows me a lot of promise. He was a consistent 4-star in the 2025 cycle. This dude really, really made a presence in his true freshman season, and I think a guy that you're going to see kind of take off again. He's probably going to play a lot on the interior with Nathan Robinson, because like I said, I cannot wait to see. I feel like we're going to rotate players on the defensive line a lot, kind of like we've seen the first couple seasons under Heupel, where it was like I almost want to refer to Kim Caldwell-esque type of substitutions, where they almost have like a package for everything, and depending on the opponent they're playing, depending on the situation in which they're playing them in, I can imagine that they're going to have a special package for each of these guys and how they're going to fit in that defense.
Yeah, I agree with you, and that's something that we have seen a lot under Rodney Garner, is that rotation, like you mentioned, the packages, kind of what they can throw out against different opponents here, and another guy that I'm going to bring up on the interior that I'm excited about, another young guy, redshirt freshman Charles House III. Didn't really see much time last year, but I feel like he's going to have to step up in a big way this year with how light the I don't like using the word light, because it's still a deep defensive line room. We just don't have a lot of experience coming back from last season. After some of the people that graduated, some people went to the pros, that type of deal. But I feel like Charles House is going to have to be one of those guys that he's going to have to step up this season. I believe he was a 4-star as well coming into Tennessee whenever he was recruited there. Just a guy that he's really going to have to step up. And, there's other names in there that I feel like you're going to see them get some time. Somebody like Isaiah Inge is probably going to see a little bit of time there as well. I mean, you got several different names that are young guys that are probably going to have to see some time depending on, how healthy the room stays.
Yeah. I mean, I think an older guy that I kind of want to – Tyree Weathersby is a guy that he's got to be on the field, man. Redshirt junior, he's in his 4th season at Tennessee. That guy, along with – you mentioned younger guys, Marion Dye, another true sophomore, I believe.
Yep.
That dude, Isaiah Campbell, like, there's so many young players. Granted, I get it. Maybe a little bit on the inexperienced side. But I think for the way that most people have been talking about this defensive line, and they're just kind of like, no James Pierce Jr., no Joshua Josephs. Who's going to be that guy? And I really think that the whole situation that went down with the Penn State transfer, Chaz Coleman, I think the way that all happened has everybody now alarmed that we don't have. Apparently, they really thought that all of our eggs were in one basket with Chaz Coleman. Mm-hmm. And as much as I'd love to have that kid playing with us this fall, it just doesn't look like it's going to happen. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we don't have other kids that are going to step right into that role, embrace that role, and still excel in that role. And I think maybe I just have so much trust because, one, a lot of these kids we recruited to come here. And two, I truly feel like we have one of the best defensive lineman coaches in America.
100%.
And three, we just made a major improvement on the defensive coordinator side. I think Jim Knowles is going to have that type of impact in year one. Now, are we going to have a top 20 SEC, defense in the SEC? Maybe we'll probably still be like, I don't know, middle of the pack. But in terms of in the country defenses, we can still be top 20 in the country and be like 9th in the SEC, if that makes sense. So, Rhonda says someone will emerge to be a star. And honestly, I love the way she put that. Michael, who do you think is going to be the person that emerges as the star?
A guy that we hadn't even talked about yet, transfer from Penn State, Xavier Gilliam. That's another guy that is a huge depth piece of Tennessee got. on the defensive line, especially on the interior. Guy is 6'2", 305, redshirt sophomore. I feel like he's really going to step up, and he's going to have to fill one of those roles this year, especially if you have those injuries that David Hobbs been dealing with. If you've got a guy like Nathan Robinson that maybe is not having as good of a year as you might expect, I feel like that's a good place for Xavier Gilliam to be, is right there in that mix. And he could be one of those guys, and once he gets on the field, he's going to have a hard time, coming off of it.
I gave you a softball lob, and you did not take it. Now, that is no disrespect to Gilliam. I think he is going to be a baller. I thought you were going to go with transfer Jordan Norman. I think a guy that has to step up in that role, a guy that's played in the playoff last year, transfer from Tulane, I believe, right? Yeah. That guy has to step in a big way. He's a redshirt junior. Again, he transferred from Tulane. He played against Ole Miss last year in the playoff. A guy that has to step up in a major way for this defensive line, and I think he's going to get an opportunity to do that pretty soon. Backflip Spaghetti says, howdy, y'all.
And then he also comes in. He says, I think there will be 2 to 3 stars rise on the defense. And I agree with you. But we are talking about the defensive line right now. So maybe it is going to be just one guy. It could be a couple of guys. But
give me Jordan Norman.
I feel like that, if we're talking about as far as the overall defensive lines, I know we've been talking a lot about the interior. I feel like I agree with you on Jordan Norman. But with his size and his speed, he's probably going to play a little bit more on the edge this year than he will on the interior.
That's fair.
So if we are going with a edge rusher, though, Jordan Norman is a great pick. I feel like I'm going to lean more towards I just had a guy that I saw his name, and it just instantly hit me. I was like, this dude is going to be a
somebody we talked about.
Nightmare. It's not somebody we've talked about yet, but, oh, man, I have lost it.
Hold up. Maybe I can go through Isaiah Campbell. No. Maybe
Christian Gass.
Yes.
Redshirt freshman.
Yep.
I feel like Christian Gass, he could be that guy on the edge.
Highly talented. Yeah,
yes.
He was rated as a 4-star prospect, number 16 linebacker in the nation. In the class of 25, I believe? Yeah.
Yep.
He enrolled January 2025. That's right. So, yeah, I agree with you. Christian Gass, and we talked about him a lot during the recruiting process, really. Will he get an opportunity this year?
I think he will.
Okay.
I think he will because, that edge position, that is one of those spots that we've talked about. It's a little bit light, especially since Chaz Coleman is not going to be playing this season. So you're going to have a guy step up in that position, and I feel like he could be that guy. You mentioned Jordan Norman. He's going to have to be one of those guys as well. You've got – and I feel like Tyree Weathersby, the reason I didn't mention him when we were talking about the interior is he's going to have to be on that edge as well because he's a little bit lighter size than some of those other guys. So I feel like he's going to have to kind of go out there as well.
And that's fair. And I think another experienced guy, Mike Batia, I think is going to have to be another guy that maybe slides to the edge. And we gotta do something. Like I said, just to generate some sort of a rotation. The last 2-3 seasons at Tennessee, we've been able to talk about how the defensive line in general, it almost didn't matter who you put out there. It was pretty much anybody in the room could go out there and play competitively on third down, on a 3rd and 3, and go get a stop. Well, last year, obviously, that flopped. Didn't really amount to what we were hoping to. But the years before that were that case, and I am interested to see how the rotation forms this year, to see how it's all the pecking order is going to sort itself out, right? And so I'm really looking forward to seeing. Kind of like what we've talked about, obviously the known names that got to stay healthy, but then who emerges and really asserts himself to say, hey, I don't want to just be a rotational piece. I want to be like the piece. I want to be the reason why we're getting, we're only allowing teams to convert 30% on third down. Whatever that is. So, no, I can't wait to see what this interior and exterior defensive line is going to amount to. And I think you're right. I think in my notes I just put down every single linebacker or lineman down. I didn't really separate that out too well on my end, so I apologize there. But I want to kind of now talk about a little bit of the linebacker room. Oh, what's up? We got a special guest on the show. Would like to introduce the man of the house. Yeah. My goodness.
He keeps trying to mute my microphone because I got it facing right towards.
Well, he
us.
wants to talk some business. He can't have the world listening to what he's got to talk.
Hey, Andy, can you tell everybody hi? You tell them hi.
What's up, dude?
Say hi.
He's like, no, but I like looking at myself though. He's like, I look good.
There we go. There we go. There
What's up, buddy? How we doing?
All right, buddy.
Future Vol right there, says Rondo.
That's exactly right.
Future Vol.
Exactly
He's already
right.
a Vol. Come on now.
Okay. I sent you up here, but you can't be messing with my microphone because
No, that's the only reason why he wants it. That's the only reason why he wants it. Come on now.
That's exactly right. But now let's talk a little bit about the linebacker group now.
Yeah.
And kind of the reason why we are grouping these two together. So linebackers this season, I feel like that is a strength of this team. Obviously, we talked a little bit about it last week with Joey Peterson. You've got numerous guys that could step foot on the field and start for really any team in the Southeastern Conference in the country. And I feel like it starts with Arion Carter. Obviously, he's the leader of the defense. He's the captain of the defense. There's a reason that he's been to SEC Media Days 2 years in a row. It starts with him. And then I feel like it goes over to,
Amari?
I feel like it's Amari Campbell.
It's got to be Amari Campbell.
The transfer from Penn State, even though Jeremiah T-Lander was the one that went to SEC Media Days, he's been a Vol his entire career. I feel like it's Amari Campbell is that other guy in the room that, he's going to be right there alongside Arion Carter, kind of leading the way on that defense.
But let's just say it ain't. That's okay. Edwin Spillman is still around, guys. I mean, the dude basically was a bona fide starter last year. The 6'1", 225 guy. I mean, he's a lockdown. He's a downhill linebacker. He's actually one of our faster linebackers, too. Like, I feel like he covers the field pretty – I'd say one of the fastest linebackers we've had at Tennessee in a minute. I just feel like he can kind of cover – I know there was a stigma in Tennessee linebackers how they can't really cover the slant or the pass that well. I feel like he has completely put that to bed.
He's
done
the guy
so
that can
well.
do that.
Him and Arion Carter, as far as like interceptions as a linebacker, they can get it done. You know what I mean? So Edwin Spillman, I've loved him since he got on campus. I know his brother may have transferred out, but I thought it was kind of cool there for a little while that he was able to play at the University of Tennessee with his brother. I think he's got another brother that may still be on the team. I can't remember. It was a trio of them. But either way, Edwin Spillman, don't rest assured he's going to get his playing time at the linebackers. He's not dropped down in the depth chart whatsoever, even with the addition of Amari Campbell.
Yeah, especially, if, people talk about Jeremiah T-Lander, he gets hate because he did not play very well last year. But he's still a really talented guy.
He wasn't able to play to his strengths.
That's right.
I think that's such a good way to talk. Like, I can't remember who we were talking with. Oh, I actually got a chance to talk to the voice of the Vols, Mike Keith. I don't know if I told you this.
You did not.
I didn't tell you this. I'm so sorry. Breaking news. I got to ask a couple questions to the voice of the Vols, Mike Keith.
So is he coming on the podcast next week?
No, unfortunately. I didn't do a shameless plug. He was actually promoting his Vol Network show, which I was like, everybody can listen to us too. It's fine. But no, I actually asked him. I was like, man, how is it going to work with the coaching staff? Obviously, linebackers the most talented, probably deepest room on the team, and he agreed with me on that. And but I asked him, I was like, how do you balance like getting the guys your best 11 on the field, but also the roster management that goes in behind that as far as a coaching staff, understanding that you got a guy like Jaden Berlotti, who's one of your best downhill linebackers, and like where do you put him on the field? And so Mike Keith had a really good answer to that. He was just like, I think you're going to see this year. You're going to understand that all of these linebackers are really freaking good at what they do. So depending on the matchup, depending on the package, depending on the game plan, he said it would be very easy to actually see a guy like Edwin Spillman in game one pop off, get like 14 tackles, force a fumble, whatever. And he said, but do not be surprised in week 2 if you don't even see him play a snap in the game. And he's like, and that's not even a knock toward him. That's just depending on the game plan, the way what they see on film, they're going to make sure that they game plan around what their linebackers do best and focus on that. And so I'm really intrigued to see how they split that up. And I think that's what I'm so excited for Jeremiah Telander, because I know what he does best, and that's stopping the run straight downhill. And so when we play a run-heavy team, I don't know. We don't play Missouri this year, do we? But I'm trying to think of a good rushing team.
Run heavy team that we play this year.
Kentucky?
It's gonna be like Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech.
That's a great one. Expect Jeremiah Telander to have a great game against Georgia Tech or a team like that. I don't know, but I am excited to see how these linebackers play to their strength. But I kind of gave it away. Jeremiah Telander, of course, but Jaden Perlotti is another that played a lot of plays last year. And again, we're already on linebacker number 5, and we still got plenty to go as far as what we got to talk about. But Jaden Perlotti, man, a guy that hits hard. He's not even like the biggest guy. He's 6'4", 210. I would say pound. He's actually really tall, but he's lean. He's very fast. And what I love about his game is, as much as we talk about filling the gap, getting downhill, he covers the flats better than almost anybody. I wonder if he would almost stretch and almost play like a, is it nickel, star, whatever that position is? Almost
and
that's
kind of what Joey was talking about last week. You know, which is kind of going to get into why we're talking about both of these position groups together here in a minute. But there's a couple of different linebackers that are very versatile as far as the positions that they can play, and Jaden Perlotti is one of those guys.
Yeah.
But we'll get some more into that here in just a minute. As another guy that we hadn't. No, you're good. You're good. Another guy that we hadn't even talked about yet is Jaden Harmon. You know, that's a young guy that is very talented. He's going to see some time on the field, and then we had 2 very talented freshmen. And Joey was saying last week he's super excited about one of these guys, T.J. White. That's a guy that has really stepped up in practices so far. He played very well in the spring. That's a guy I would not be surprised if you see him get on the field some. And then the other guy, Braden Rouse. Both of those 4-star linebackers that they committed within the same week this past season. And it was just like, bang, Tennessee is on fire with recruitment.
And not to take anything away from what Joey said, I try to kind of mention T.J. White to Mike Keith, and Mike Keith almost wanted to talk more about Braden Rouse. So I'm uberly excited about those 2 guys. The only problem I'm seeing, man, is I hope we're winning.
Snaps
that's what I'm saying, dude. That's what I'm saying. Like, I hope we're winning by 40 by halftime because I want to see these kids on the field. But I mean, we also got Jordan Burns.
Yep.
And that's another guy that I would say is probably in your 3 deep. I don't know. He might get beat out by some of these freshmen, dude. But I'm just saying, like, you've got a stacked linebacker room to the point to where I could actually see, obviously, if you're fully healthy, a guy like Jaden Perlotti kind of dipping his toes into a safety position-esque position where you're only playing really like a true 4 defensive back look. I don't know what that would look like, but I do think that he would. There's a package for Jaden Perlotti where he's going to be on the field with 2 or 3 other linebackers. I think we may see Arion Carter. I mean, it's kind of been teased that he's going to be on the edge some this year. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays more on the edge because
of the lack of depth there.
One, you got to do what's best for your team. Would that not also be best for him? Think about it. In the NFL, and I'm ignorant to this, but I feel like it's talked about more in the media. Does an edge rusher not get paid more than a linebacker does in the NFL?
I think at this point they do, just because what they mean on the defense now. You know, well, let's go ahead and talk about it a little bit. You know, Tennessee over the past several years, especially with the with the game evolving more into a air raid type thing, most defenses have gone from the traditional 4-3 or the 3-4 into like a 4-2-5. You're playing 5 defensive backs.
Yeah.
And the linebacker position has been kind of taking a back seat to positions like you mentioned, like the edge rushers that are getting a lot more attention, that type of deal. And that's where it comes in with the, you know, edge rushers do get a little bit more pay once you get to the NFL side of things because of the NFL also going to that. But I think this season you're gonna see Jim Knowles go back to a 4-3 maybe hybrid or a 3-4 kind of hybrid. I feel like it's gonna be kind of a game plan, game by game, whatever the strengths are gonna be type of deal, kind of like what you talked about earlier, based on your personnel, who you want on the field. But I feel like he's going to have a plan for a lot of these linemen and the linebackers. So, you might see Tennessee run more of a 4-3 and have Arion Carter come down on the edge, and then you still got three of those talented linebackers out there. You might see a 3-4 with your traditional defensive linemen out there, and then you've got four linebackers, and one of them, like Jaden Perlotti, could drop back into coverage type of deal. I think you're going to see some very interesting things on the defensive side of the ball this year to get a lot of these guys in some strengths.
You know what I want to see? That's just like super old school.
What's that?
I want to see a typical 4-4.
They're
never gonna line. Nice. They're never gonna line up like a 4-4. Okay, but if you're just taking like roster position that they're supposed to play, and realize that they actually do have four rostered linebackers on the field, but it's gonna look like a 5-3, 5-2, or maybe it does look like a 4-2, but then you've got two. I don't know, but they're never gonna line them up like a 4-4 unless Georgia Tech really is like running the ball 50 times, throwing it twice type thing. But something about just four linebackers. Yes. I want to see all of that.
With the linebacker group that you have this year, you probably could, because you've got the versatility. You've got guys that can drop back into covers. Like I mentioned, Jaden Perlotti. I feel like, Edwin Spillman's one of those guys that can do that as well. But, there's just so much versatility. You got so many guys in that room. I feel like Jim Knowles has got an open book of what he can do on the defensive side of the ball, and it's super exciting to see.
Oh, yeah. But without a doubt, I think we touched on almost every single name we know of on the defensive line and linebackers group. But I'm going to ask you the same thing that I asked on the defensive line. Who do you think emerges, not named Arion Carter? Who do you think emerges in the linebacker group that is that guy that you look back on the season and be like, man, our season would have been different if it weren't for this guy?
You know what? I'm going to take a chance here. I'm going to say that guy is Jeremiah Telander. I think there is a reason that he got the nod at SEC Media Days.
Okay.
I think he's heard the hate that he got last season because of his play on the field.
Sure.
And I think that he wants to make this last season in Tennessee count.
Absolutely.
And I think that he's going to be a difference maker for Tennessee this year. I'm going to go with the veteran Telander.
There you go. Yeah, for me, I want to go so badly with Edwin Spillman, but I almost feel like I expect that from him, not like a surprise from him. So, go ahead.
And I was kind of thinking the same thing about Jaden Perlotti. I mentioned him as a breakout player.
Yeah.
But I kind of come to expect it this year from him. I expect him to take that next step.
But from a national perspective, that would be absolutely
that would be a good pick, yes.
Yeah. From somebody that doesn't follow the program, they probably don't even know who Jaden Perlotti is. So I respect that. Yeah, fair enough. I think I am going to go with, and from the national perspective, this may be expected. I'm going to go with the transfer of Amari Campbell.
Yeah.
I think with the guy bringing like he's played in the Knowles defense, albeit a year maybe. I think just the experience and him being able to add that senior leadership to the defensive, just the room in general, but the linebackers specifically, being able to help assist Arion Carter, Jeremiah Telander, just being another guy and another dude that I think is going to add a ton of value to this room, and I think he's going to ball out this year. I think he's probably a one and done at Tennessee. He's probably wanting to hit the NFL draft right after this, and I think it's almost like a contract year for him. So I'm expecting big things from Amari Campbell.
Yeah, completely agree with you, man. And when we talk about how dynamic a lot of these players are, some of these guys that might be trending towards other positions, as far as like Arion Carter playing some on the edge, a guy like Edwin Spillman or Jaden Perlotti playing kind of a nickel type position. Somebody else that I feel like could go down and be that edge rusher, and you talked about because he is a downhill guy, he loves the run stopping, is Jeremiah Telander, and that's another reason why I feel like he could have a really good season this year, because he could leak down to that edge position, and I feel like that's perfect for him. He might be a little bit undersized for an edge type position, but his speed off the edge, I would love to see him get moved.
I just love the old school feel of this linebacker room.
Yes.
I feel like, and I got the vibe, especially from Jeremiah Telander, just a good old dude, like a good old boy.
Mm-hmm.
And like when you asked him, like, well, what are you excited about? And he's just like, just go hit somebody. Like,
Yeah.
yes, dude.
if that's the mindset, give me all.
That's what I'm
So,
saying, bro. Like that old school, just I want to hit somebody, and that's what you gotta have, man. And that's what excites me about that. The defensive improvement that we got to see this year, but that's what in the very first game that we play, albeit it's Furman, I think, I don't know, but maybe we'll do Georgia Tech because that'll matter a little bit more in the first quarter. It's their first drive. It's 3rd and 3. Show me what you got, and that mentality gives me everything I need to know about where they're at least mentality wise, culture wise, whatnot. Because if he feels that way, that room feels that way. If that room feels that way, that defense feels that way. If that defense feels that way, the team feels that way. So I love how it can just grow and expand. And yeah, I cannot wait to see. Next week, man, you got media day, I believe Tuesday or Wednesday. You got fall camp starting right after that, and I can't wait to see that first coach, I guess, post practice interview, just to kind of. Obviously, they're probably not going to go full pads in first practice, but I can't wait to see like the excitement the guys just being able to hit again and put on full pads and go ball.
100%, man. So you got anything else on this defensive line, this linebacker group before we move ahead to our next segment?
No, I don't really have anything else to add. I just want to reiterate the fact that people are overlooking this defensive line, and it's bothering me. Let's shine some light on those guys. They work just as hard as anybody else. They got one of the best coaches coaching them. Trust the process and realize that we got some dogs on the defensive line. And let's trust them and let's respect it. And I can't wait to see them go ball.
And while I agree with everything you just said, let them disrespect this room. I can't wait to see them come out and prove everybody wrong.
Fair enough. Fair enough.